Right, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. If I could please just quickly, as always, do an audio visual check. If you could please confirm that you can see me, hear me, and see my screen. Okay, that would be really good. Thank you very much. Um, Good stuff. Thank you very much, guys. Well, welcome to another episode of the Trading Vault. Please, as always, let us know where you're calling in from today. Nice to see so many of you here. Let us know where you're coming from. Let us know your level of experience. Yeah, it'd be great to know where you're coming from. And so today we're going to be talking about VWAP. We're going to do some live trading in a little bit as well, looking at some live charts. So if you have any experience of VWAP, please do let us know as well. Um, as always, there is a QR code there on the screen at the moment where you can scan to sign up and register for a VT Markets account. And if you do have any questions as we go through the presentation, please do let me know. So we've got some Canada, the Maldives, very nice indeed, Ashish. Maldives is a lovely part of the world. Switzerland, Malaysia, Cape Town, Norway. So we've got we've got North America, we've got Europe, we've got Asia, we've got Africa. So yeah, we're covered right across the globe today, which is great to see. Holland, Greece. A couple from the UK as well. So yeah, nice mix of people all over the world. Like I said, we're uh, good attendance today. So hopefully Isle of Sheppey in Kent, Dave. That is literally about 10-15 minutes from me. I'm in Higham, so yeah, not too far from me. Um, Cool. Farik says, very little about VWAP. Okay, so hopefully we can change that today. Okay, guys. So let's. Yeah, that would be good, Dave. That would be good. Thank you very much. Right. So let's get on with the presentation. So as I say, welcome to another episode of the Trading Vault. For those of you that have been here before, I'm glad that you're finding these sessions useful. If you're brand new to the Trading Vault, hopefully you're going to find a lot of useful information as we work through this session and in future sessions as well. But this today's session is all going to be about VWAP. It's going to be how professionals use volume to time their trades. And now VWAP is something that is heavily used by institutions. Okay, so when I worked in London, when I worked in Hong Kong, often our orders were always to target the VWAP price over the session. Okay, so it's something that is very heavily monitored by institutions. It's often targeted by institutions, and therefore it's very, very relevant when it comes to our trading. We can actually use that information for our trading entries and also our target stuff. But we're going to go through some reasons why it's important and why it's looked at, and then we're going to talk about the best way to use it, and then we're going to look at some real life charts as well to show some examples of how we can look to use it as too. So, as I say, I know there are plenty of you here that do know me already from the previous sessions, but for those of you that are new, just a quick overview of exactly who I am. My name is Ross Maxwell. I am the Global Operations and Strategy Lead here at VT Markets. It's my role to provide high-level education for traders of all levels, whether that be a beginner or even professional traders looking to increase their edge in the markets. I'm personally a professional trader myself and also an investment manager, and I've got more than 20 years experience in trading the markets with a career that, as I say, started in London, moved me to Hong Kong, and now since 2014 I've been trading as an independent trader. I'm also an award-winning trading coach and mentor and the founder of Keyzone Traders, which is an online trading education company. So Hakim says, please can we see the VWAP with live examples? Yes, we will do. We're going to jump into some live charts and we're going to show you that, Hakim. So yeah, we will look into that as we get through into the session. So as always, please do fire questions into the chat box. If it is relevant and to the point of the topic of discussion, I will answer it there and then. If not, we will have a Q&A at the end of the session as well. So if I don't answer it, please, I'm not ignoring you. I will answer at the end of the session. And if I have missed it, it will be an honest mistake. It won't be intentional. And please just do ask the question again as well. So please also do stay on at the end. We will have a little survey for you guys, which will help us tailor these sessions to exactly what it is that you want and need from these sessions, so that we can make sure we provide the best educational content for you. And also there will be an article at the end that we will show you in terms of on VWAP and explains a little bit more about it. Okay, cool. Right, so as I say, let's jump into the session, ask questions, and let's hopefully get you a deeper understanding of VWAP, why it's so important, and how we can use it in our trading to make really good trading decisions. So first of all, understanding VWAP. So an introduction to VWAP to start with, okay? So VWAP stands for volume weighted average price, okay? So everyone calls it VWAP, but that is what it actually stands for. It represents the true average traded price in any one particular session. Institutions use it to help minimize the impact on the market, and they use it as a benchmark for execution. As I said earlier on, I would say at least sort of 70 to 80% of my trades when working with institutions in the financial markets were to target VWAP. So you would have to look at when volume was going through the market, and you increased your participation in the market around those levels, and then you scaled back when there was less volume going through the market, and you could keep an eye on the session VWAP to be able to make some decisions around when was best to enter the market. So when large volume is going through at a particular price, it can become more aggressive. So in terms of your execution, and they can hold off when volume dries up to avoid moving the market too much. And this is when I'm talking about that. I'm talking about the institutions and how they participate. And if you think about it, this is a really key point, okay? Because if we know that institutions control liquidity and institutions have the liquidity to create directional movements in the market, and we know that they are going to participate heavily when there is higher volume going through the markets, but also that we know they're going to participate more heavily when price trades around the VWAP levels, because we know that they need to target that price. So it makes sense to participate quite heavily around the average price, because that is going to be the price that they want to target. If we know that, then we know that around the VWAP price, the session price, there's going to be heavy volume from institutions. So again, it's a really key piece of information as to where the institutions are going to actually be starting to participate. We also know as price moves away from the VWAP level that they're going to reduce their participation, because it's getting further and further away from the price that they're targeting. Okay, so it's a really key piece of information that we can watch to look at. Okay, so how do we use VWAP for sentiment and execution? Okay, so VWAP acts in a similar way to a moving average. So most of us have probably heard of moving averages before. It acts in a very similar way in terms of it can be like a dynamic support and resistance. It's calculated very differently. Like, a moving average doesn't only takes into consideration price. It doesn't take into consideration the participation, the volume traded at any particular price, and that is the real key difference, and why VWAP is a much stronger tool to use for us. Okay, so it looks at the bigger picture and also takes into account volume, which gives it a more accurate picture of the sentiment in the market. So whilst a moving average, if price is moving and fluctuating, but the institutions aren't really participating, then we could just be seeing a move based on thin volume. and it's not quite as informative as a VWAP, where we can see that the price is moving away from the VWAP average price. We know that the institutions are not going to be participating there, so we can therefore just hold off a little bit more and wait for price to correct. So VWAP is, whilst it's similar to moving average, it has much more information and much more relevance. Okay, and quite simply, in terms of sentiment, if price is above the VWAP price, then that gives us a bullish bias, and if price is below the VWAP price, then that gives us a bearish bias. Now, VWAP can act as a dynamic support and resistance, as mentioned, as institutions often defend the VWAP levels. And again, this comes from a twofold point of view. One, they need to participate more heavily around the VWAP price, because that is where they need to participate, because that is going to be targeting, that's going to be the price that they are targeting for that session. And also it acts as that dynamic support and resistance. So if they have a bullish bias, the institutions are going to want to defend the VWAPs to keep the price above that. If they're buying the market, or if they're selling the market, they're going to want to keep the price below that, so that their execution is on the right side of the market. And therefore pullbacks to VWAP can create entry opportunities. We're going to talk about, so we're going to look at two sort of bits of information on how we can use VWAP. We're going to look at using the VWAP as an entry point, but we're also going to look at how we can use it as a mean reversion. So looking at fading extended moves away from the VWAP price, fading it back to VWAP and using the VWAP as a target. But we're also going to look mainly at how VWAP we can use it as an entry point to almost like as a continuation of the trend. Okay, Massimo, yes, we will go through the VWAP and where to find it for you, okay? Okay, so VWAP and volume. So if we see big volume near the VWAP price with little decrease in price, then this is an accumulation phase, okay? If we see big volume near VWAP with rejections, then this is a distribution phase. And if VWAP is flat and we see volume rising around the VWAP, then this is often means that institutions are building positions, so they're accumulating a position, okay? And again, this goes back to that the theory that institutions targeting the VWAP price, they want to participate more heavily around that VWAP price to make sure that they get that price that they're targeting for that session. Okay, so which assets does VWAP work best on? So VWAP, if you haven't guessed already, VWAP works best for intraday and short-term trading. So it works best for like intra-session. So we look at session VWAP. So for example, the VWAP, and we'll see this on the chart. You'll see how the VWAP is calculated through the session. There's might be big jumps through sessions, but actually during a session, the VWAP price is generally quite smooth and quite easy for us to look as an indicator. Okay, so it's really good for intraday and short-term trading for VWAP. For session VWAP. It does not work very well on liquid instruments or those with a lot of invisible liquidity, such as Forex. So a lot of Forex liquidity is done what is called OTC, over the counter. It's done away from the actual the market itself. So there's a lot of invisible volume that goes through the Forex market. So whilst the Forex market is the most liquid market in the world, actually, because a lot of the volume is done away from the actual market itself and it's done OTC, it's not quite as good to look at VWAP. So it works best on the following assets where volume is transparent and easily available. That's equities, so that's stocks and indices, commodities, futures, and liquid crypto assets, okay? And generally speaking, so this is used quite heavily in equities and sort of like individual stocks, okay? So but also we need to be aware that it's for liquid, so like your household names, almost like it will be your Teslas, Amazon, Apple, Meta, those sorts of stocks where it will be a lot more relevant, where there's a lot of liquidity going through. We can see a lot of visibility in the liquidity. So those are the sorts of assets, those are the sorts of instruments that this is going to work best on, okay? And it's going to be intraday and short-term trading. So we're going to be looking at sort of, 1 minute charts, 5 minute charts, 15-minute charts, those sorts of really like lower time frame levels. Okay. So Matthias, we are going to be getting into the charts, Matthias. So if you can just bear with me 1 second, we're just giving the basic information about it, and then we will be jumping into the charts as well. Commodities does include gold, yes, Farouk. Okay, so analyzing charts with VWAP. So as mentioned, we should use VWAP for short-term and intraday trading strategies, and we can use the session VWAP. Using volume as a supportive indicator, so it's a really key indicator as well on the chart that we can use in support of the VWAP, and we can look at market structure to confirm our bias, and we want to look at how the market reacts on revisits to the VWAP price. Okay, so in conclusion, before we get into the actual live charts, VWAP is a key tool which is used by institutions. It can help show where institutions will be active. It is best used for intraday and short-term trading on liquid instruments. That's a really key point as well. It's on liquid. It's best on liquid instruments where there's a lot of volume and a lot of transparent volume. Okay, then there's changes in volume around the VWAP can give us clues to help us provide us with actual trading signals. Okay, and you can see here that we're going to now post the events team are now going to post an article in the chat box so that you can see and read a little bit more about VWAP. Okay, guys. So, right, thank you very much for that. We're now going to, if you can just bear with me 1 second, I'm going to stop and I'm going to share my other screen so that we can actually start looking at some charts. We've got a few questions here as well, which we will go through. If you can just bear with me for me to share my screen. Okay. If you could please just again confirm that you can see my screen. Okay. Perfect stuff. How come I can't see? Okay, good stuff, good stuff. Right. How come I can't see any messages in the chat window in mine? It's because most people are just sending their messages to the to us directly, Alexander. Duh, duh, duh. Okay, good stuff. Okay, so admin Farik says that the page is not working. It says a 404 error. If you could confirm that for me and have a look. Right. Okay. So let's have a look at the chart here. Right. Okay. So everyone should be able to see my chart. Let's just go. There's a couple of questions. Please explain where to find the VWAP indicator not found on NT5. Yeah, so VWAP, I don't think you can. It's not through. You can't see it on Meta or MT4, MT5. So you need to use a TradingView version of VT Markets. You can log into that through your client portal, just using exactly the same login details as your MT4, MT5 platform. You just log in via your client portal, and then from here you go to indicators, and under the indicators you just type VWAP. And you can see there you've got the VWAP there. You just click on that and it will add that to the chart. Okay, I'm just going to delete that one because I've already got it on there. Okay, so Massimo, I hope that answers your question. Is VWAP a technical indicator? Yes, Mai, it is a technical indicator, but it's also it's a more sort of current indicator. It gives like a really strong indication of the average price of the actual trading through that session. So hopefully that is all okay. Would the accumulation distribution indicator be a good indicator to pair with the VWAP? It might be, Sean. I mean, generally speaking, you can probably look at accumulation and distribution via the volume. And I think volume is probably the only one that is really needed alongside VWAP to make really good and strong trading decisions. I think is the would be the answer to that. So that blue line is VWAP. Yes, that is right. This blue line here that you can see, this is the VWAP price. And you can see this big spike here, that is the change in session, okay? So you can see that generally speaking, through a session, the VWAP remains fairly smooth, and then you just get one big spike from session to session. So that's why we use a session VWAP, and we should look at the VWAP through the session, okay? Okay, great. So that's all good for in terms of MT5, MT4, there might be add-on indicators that you can get for it, but I'm not aware of those. So I just use it through the TradingView platform. Can I use VWAP on gold and Nasdaq? Yes, 100% you can. They're really good assets and instruments to use the VWAP on. Um, and the settings for VWAP are just the standard settings. There's no sort of real settings for VWAP. If you think about it, VWAP is literally, it takes the price and the volume and then takes the average. So there is no real settings. It literally just takes the volume and the price and it works out the average indicator. It's not like a moving average which takes the average price over the previous 4 or 5 or 20 candles. It literally takes every single piece of data and then averages it out to create the VWAP price. So that's why it's a much more relevant and much more important indicator and gives much more realistic information for it. Okay, so it's just a standard VWAP indicator is all good, Mohammed. Okay, cool. So Ashish, does VWAP work on XAU US dollar, which is gold? Yes, it does. So let's jump in and we can have a little look here on there. So let's have a look into some charts. Okay, so here we've got this is the DAX. So we're in the European session. Okay, we will go and have a look at some US markets and stuff as well. But I just thought whilst we're in the European session, we'll have a look at the European markets. So you can see here that this is a 5 minute chart. Okay, so again, you want to keep it on those sort of 1 minute, 5 minute, maybe 15 minute max charts. Generally speaking, the VWAP should be the same throughout, or it's going to be very, very close to it. And you're just going to look at where price is. And you can see that today, price is very much like quite neutral, especially in the early part of the session. This is futures, okay? So this is the future session, which is why you can see the price going from there. You can see price is very neutral, not really much movement, not much volatility around. So you're not and oscillating back and forth through that VWAP. So there's not really anything that you can say. There's really low volume, so you don't really want to get involved when there's really low volume. Again, we're looking for where the institutions are going to be involved. And that is what we're going to base our decisions on. Okay, so you can see that during the main session on Friday, volume was high. This is where you would want to participate, but what you're doing here is you're looking for pullbacks to the VWAP because we're above, we're above the VWAP, but there was no pullbacks to that VWAP price. In this session, initially it's very sideways. We don't want to participate in that. But okay, here's the thing: this is quite a good two good examples of the things that we're looking at. Okay, so the market opens, and you're always going to see a spike in volume around the market opens. Okay, and market opens, you can see the spike in volume and it pushes away from the VWAP. Okay, so straight away it's like, okay, we've got a bit of a bullish bias, we're above, or a bullish sentiment, we're above the VWAP, but we do know if we go to the higher time frames, so a 4 hour chart for example, that actually we are quite neutral at the moment. Okay, we can see here that generally speaking we are quite neutral. Okay, so from a high time frame context we're quite neutral, excuse me, but from the session from the initial move, we've actually created a bit of a push up. Okay, so if we're quite neutral, we've made a bit of a push up. What we're going to look for is we can then straight away start looking for a mean reversion. Okay, so we've extended away from the VWAP, and we know that price is likely to want to revisit that VWAP price, especially in a neutral environment. Now, as you can see, what happens here with these green and red bars down here, these are the volume bars, okay? So it shows you the volume. As price extends away, what does volume do? It decreases, okay? So what you can then do is you can start looking for mean reversion strategies, okay? So you look for a reversal, you look for an opportunity to get short as long as volume continues to decrease. If you start seeing volume increase again, we do not want to enter the market. But you can see here, you know, green bar, green bar, green bar. We get our first potential reversal candle here. Volume continues to decrease, which means that participation in the market at those prices is going down. If participation in the market is going down, what is more likely to happen? We're more likely to see a reversal. We're more likely to see that mean reversion happen. So what can we do? We can enter a short position uh, below, so enter on below that, uh, stop above there, and we can target back to that VWAP price because we're looking for that mean reversion. And as you can see, we come back and we hit that. That's a 2.4 risk to reward trade. That was quite easily visible. It was an opportunity from this morning's market. Okay, so that is a mean reversion example. Okay, so what are we looking for a mean reversion? Okay, so we're looking for an extension away from the VWAP price. We're looking for a decrease in volume, which shows that there's a decrease in participation from the institutions and therefore more likely to be a pullback. And then we're looking for some sort of reversal signal pattern. Now, again, what that reversal signal pattern looks like, that's up to you in terms of your trade plan. You're looking for an entry signal, whether that's just like a one negative candle in this instance, because you're looking to sell to mean revert. It could be you only trade pin bars. It could be you only trade engulfing bars. Whatever it is, you look for the reversal signal, the reversal candlestick pattern with the decrease in volume. This is really important. Okay, you want to continue to see this decrease in volume because if volume picks up, that means that there is still participation there. Okay. Um, right. So that is an example of a mean reversion pattern. Any questions on that, guys, before we move on to looking at an opportunity here for a continuation? No? Okay, cool. So no questions coming at the moment. So as we come down, we're looking for price to come back to this VWAP, and then we're looking for a continuation from this VWAP. But you can see as price gets to the VWAP here, what is happening still to this volume? This volume is still going down, okay? Yes, we have a little spike up here, and we see this little push up, but once we hit the VWAP, we don't see the institutions jump back in, okay? So that tells you that they're not so keen on defending it. This was just an open drive liquidity. There was some institutional liquidity at the beginning. We've seen that mean reversion, which we had all the factors. But once we revisit the VWAP price here, what we want to start to see, we want to start to see an increase in volume, and we don't see that here. Okay, as we really sort of move in and zoom into this price, okay, we get here, this candle here that touches the VWAP is still lower than the previous candle, okay? So because we're not seeing that institutional order flow step back into the market, we do not want to trade, okay? That's really vital, important, key piece of information, how we're using volume alongside the VWAP price to be able to make our trading decisions. Does that make it clear, everyone, on how we can use that? Um, cool, thanks, guys. So yeah, so the events team I've answered about the VWAP indicator and the accumulation distribution indicator, and also gold and Nasdaq. So Sean, is there anything to look out for pre-market open which can indicate the direction, I would think that's when the most volume would come in. You are right that most of the volume will come in on the open, and you can get a lot more volatility on the open as well. So there's nothing that I would sit there and say can really, and often in that pre-market session you can get sort of like fake out moves, so you can get moves in to look like for liquidity grabs and stuff like that. So I'd really just focus in terms of this strategy, in terms of using the VWAP. I would look for using it from the open of the main, excuse me, the main session, because that's when the volume is going through, and that's going to give you the most information, because ultimately when we're making our trading decisions we want to have the most information available to us before we start making our trading decisions. That information is coming to us once the market has opened. So certainly in terms of this session and what we're trying to create here, I would focus on once the market has opened and take that information, because that gives us the full volume information as well. Okay. So Rajat, so no, so I would not enter below VWAP. And again, so if we're looking at this trade in as an example, price does decrease. Sorry, price comes down and the volume decreases. We do see a little sort of uptick in volume here, but the entry would be back into VWAP. We're already back below VWAP. Okay, so because we're below VWAP, we then don't want to enter. We really want to see the participation as soon as we hit that VWAP price. Okay, if we don't see that, then the institutions are not there, and therefore we don't want to do it. We're going to likely see it's either a deeper correction or just a continuation of this sort of sideways action. Okay, in which case we don't want to be trading. We don't have to trade. Again, we're not trading every single revisit back to the VWAP price. Okay, we're not trading every single setup that we see. We're not going to trade every time the market moves away from the VWAP. We're not going to trade it back to the VWAP price. What we're looking to do is trying to tie these components in. So when we move away from the VWAP price, okay, we know that there's potential for a reversion back to that VWAP. So we want to look for the reversal pattern, and we want to see the volume decreasing. If we don't have those all those factors in play, we do not trade. And the same when we revisit the VWAP. If we once we've touched the VWAP, if we don't see an increase in volume, then we don't trade. If we don't see the increase in volume, if we don't see the reversal pattern, and we don't see that volume coming in when we hit that VWAP price, then we don't trade that setup. We look for another opportunity. Okay. So Pearl says, is it best to use during the market open? You're going to get some opportunities around the market open, like you can see here, Pearl. Yeah, so if you see an increase in volume and price is above the VWAP, and it's around that like the volume comes in around that VWAP price, then yes, of course you can go long. But if you, as I say, in this example, you can see that it just doesn't. The volume just stays flat, and it actually decreases a little bit when it hits that VWAP. So now we need to look for a different opportunity. You're going to get opportunities on the market open. You're going to see probably a lot of these sort of open drives on the market open, especially in like indices and stocks. So you can look for your mean reversions after that. The revisits and the continuations back to VWAP, they're likely to happen further into the session. Okay. And for Rick, I would say 15-minute time frame would be the highest you really want to use for VWAP. Like I say, this is very much a short-term intraday trading sort of strategy and tool. I think the 5-minute is probably the premium and the most advisable time frame. I think the 5-minute is probably the best one to use it for, but you can go down to the 1 minute, you could go up to the 15-minute or somewhere in between. But personally, I think the 5-minute is the optimal time frame for this. Can I use the same setting for SMA in? So VWAP and moving averages are very different, Pole. Okay, so whilst there's some similarities in terms of using them as dynamic support and resistance, hopefully what we explained earlier on in the session shows the differences and why VWAP is a little bit more important. No, again, Peter, so VWAP doesn't take a specific setting, so you just plot it on. It takes all of the data across the whole session, and averages it out. So it's a much smoother, much more relevant. It doesn't discount any data. It takes all the data and gives a much bigger overall picture of the market in that session. Okay, which is why it's alongside the volume can be a really powerful tool and indicator. Okay. Right, so let's have a look because we've only got about another 20 minutes left, so I want to look at a few more charts as well. That's DAX, so that's this session. So we want to look at let's have a look at gold as well. Okay, because I know that's quite a looked um, uh, instrument that a lot of people trade. So with this one, let me just scroll this down. Okay, so again, you can see that the volume here is very, very strong on gold. Okay, so we this goes back to Friday session. We can start to see that price moves up. We start to see the volume. We start to see reversals come in here, and you can actually start to see that volume decreases. So you could start looking for mean reversions here on gold. You can see here that this one would not have worked. You do get a little bit of a pullback before it actually pushes higher. And again, we get another opportunity here for you've got your reversal pattern. You are quite extended away from that VWAP price, and you can see that we've actually seen a bit of a pickup in volume around here. So I probably wouldn't trade that one. And then, as I say, so on Friday, there's not really a great deal of opportunities there. Probably one around here, which you probably would have taken a loss on. You would have shorted there, stopped there, and then you would have targeted back to VWAP. At the time, VWAP price would have been around here, so you could have got like a 2-to-1 risk to reward. And that's another thing really on these mean reversions and the extensions, continuations. You probably want to be looking for around a 2-to-1 risk to reward or better. If you're not getting at least sort of 2-to-1 on these, then you're not far enough away to look for the mean reversion. So you probably want to start avoiding them. You want to be looking for sort of 2-to-1 risk to reward trades on these. Okay. Um, and all the time you're above here, you would be looking for continuations back to VWAP. But again, we don't come back and revisit the VWAP for a continuation and a long. And you can see at the moment for price today, a bit like that DAX in this session, we're just sort of seeing this sort of choppy price action, no real direction. We haven't had any real pushes away from the VWAP. And I mean, actually, you've probably got one here. So early on in the session, your price came down, pushed down below here, but actually you see a pickup in volume. So no, you wouldn't trade that one. That did go back to the VWAP, but yeah, you wouldn't have traded that one because you can see that if we just put a where is it? Trying to find the arrow. Where is it? There we go. So this candle here, the volume actually ticks up there when we get there. So I wouldn't be looking to trade that one. So yeah, again, the volume, the VWAP here is it's very non-directional, it's very non-committal. So therefore, we're not really looking to trade this sort of session. Um, what are the green lines above and below the VWAP? I don't have them. Is this on my screen, Pearl? I don't have any green lines. Okay, so sometimes when you post if you're on Trading View, it doesn't have it on my version of Trading View, but sometimes you have what are called VWAP bands. And they act a little bit like Bollinger Bands in terms of like looking for extensions and that away from the VWAP price. So Yeah, exactly, Leon. They're standard deviation bands away from, so they're very much like Bollinger Bands in terms of that sort of sense. Because again, Bollinger Bands are a standard deviation calculation away from the average price. So yeah, what you're seeing is probably the VWAP bands. But you can remove those from your settings if you don't want them, or you can use them as a visual guide to see when the market is extended away from the VWAP. Okay, so not really too much there on gold, and there is some stuff. So Bitcoin is one that we can use it on as well. So if we have a look at Bitcoin, crypto, very again, we're looking at highly liquid crypto assets is what we're trying to look for. There was let me try and find. I did find something earlier on for Bitcoin. So. Are we on the 5 minute? Maybe it was on the 1 minute chart. Okay, yeah. So on Bitcoin here, you can see that where is it? Oh, I've lost it now. But again, so was it on the 5 minute? Ah, maybe this is it here. Okay, so you can see that price has broken down through the VWAP price. So again, um, we then had this impulsive push down, corrective pull back. We get this. Oh no, actually, that's not. Where was it? Excuse me. So I thought I'd seen one. Maybe it was on a different asset class, but it was there was a good. Let me have a look at something else. Maybe it was on one of the US markets. Um, there we go. Let's have a look at this Dow one. Yeah, I think this was it here. It was on the Dow. So, okay. So with the Dow Jones, you can see that we've got this really, this was like last Thursday. You can see this really strong push down below, sort of extended below the VWAP. We can start looking for mean reversions. Volume is decreasing here, so you can look for some sort of reversal. That happens here. Okay. Um, and you get back to the mean reversion. But this is the one that I really wanted to look at for the continuation. Okay, so again, if we go, we've pulled back to the VWAP and notice how volume as we get back to the VWAP here in these sort of candles here. Notice how there's a slight uptick in volume, so an increase in participation, and then we get our signal, a reversal signal, a nice pin bar where you can then go short, stop above, and you can target like just a 2-to-1 risk to reward on that where it hits later on in the session. So this was a really nice example of a continuation where you've got a strong push away. You always want to see again these impulsive strong pushes away, the mean reversion, and then as we get back into the VWAP, you can see it's not huge it's not a huge uptick, but just as it gets back to the back to the VWAP price here, we start to see an increase in the volumes again. So is that clear for people? I know it's only minor, but that is really what you want to see. You want to start seeing as it gets back to that VWAP, that increase in volume. Then you're looking for your reversals signal, which you get there, and then you have your entry to take advantage of that. Okay. Let's just answer a couple of questions. Um, do you have recommended VWAP settings? Now, as I say, the VWAP settings should just be standard. Um, there's no sort of settings that you need to have for VWAP. It should just be the standard settings. So no, we're covering the session VWAP in this one. So we're focusing on the session VWAP, which is just that standard VWAP that standard VWAP indicator in TradingView. Okay, so Farik, how do you know whether it's a highly liquid crypto? Look, I mean, in terms of that, you're really looking at your Bitcoins, your Ethereums, the really mainstream Bitcoin, real mainstream crypto assets. Okay, so I mean, if you look at individual stocks or something like, let's have a look. You want to see this sort of consistent. Um, excuse me. You want to see this sort of like consistent price action. Alibaba is another really good one where you can see like there's real consistent information. If I just show you an example of another from another chart of something that if you um, bear with me a second. See that 10 seconds. If you can just bear with me a second, guys, so then I can get a different chart for you to show you what you don't want to see. Um, why is that coming up like that? Yeah, so this is a good example. Okay, so when volume is really poor, let me just share you a different chart. When volume is really poor, you're going to see like not a lot of consistent candles. Okay, even on the hourly chart here, like you can see that there's not many. That means there's not a lot of volume going through because there's not a lot of movement in price. So that's when you can see that the asset class or the instruments is not very liquid. You can see the difference here, but where there's only like these. I mean, this is a really really highly liquid uh, instrument, but you can see if the price action is quite sporadic, that's what you want to avoid. You want to see this really consistent um, price action, these really consistent sort of candles and movement of price, a really sort of smooth volume of movement of price. Does that make sense, guys, in terms of what you want to look for to determine whether something's liquid or illiquid? Cool, good stuff. Okay, so yeah, let's because we've only got sort of 5-10 minutes left. I've got a few questions here as well. So we would doesn't necessarily mean that we need to look for a certain number to say the volume is. No, so Persis, do we just so we would just need to see an increase in volume. It doesn't necessarily mean that we need to look for a certain number to say that the volume is significant. No, basically, you just want to start to see an increase in participation. Obviously, the stronger the participation, the better. But generally speaking, no, you just want to start to see a little bit more participation. So, Rob, if you're below VWAP, where would you look to buy? If you're below VWAP, you really want to see these sort of like extensions away and then look for the mean reversion. And again, you want to see reversals. You want to see a decrease in volume as you're going down. But ultimately, equally, like again, if you're new to this, I would always recommend trying to trade continuations of the VWAP first because again you're with the trend then, okay, you're with the overall trend in the market. The trend is your friend. It's much easier to trade. Mean reversions you're looking to fade. And you can you can also use support and resistance for your mean reversions, okay. So from the previous sessions that we've done, we've spoken about support and resistance. If you can see the market moving away from your the VWAP. You can look at historical support and resistance. There's not really any levels on this chart here. Let's have a look, see if we can get something on the Dow future. Um, Was there anything, is there anything around here? Um, you know, as you got down to this area here, you could, yeah, there you go. You've got a really nice strong support area there. So you could actually go, okay, we're getting extended from the VWAP. Okay, there's my support zone. That is the level that's the area there that I want to start seeing a reaction from. So you see price come down here. Price does start to decrease a little bit in this area here. So maybe then you start to look for your reversal before you look for the main reversion. So that's probably the more that's another layer you can add in to just increase the probability of your entries. So use your support and resistance alongside that to try and fade. But as I say, generally speaking, you probably want to try and stay with the trend as much as possible. Yeah, Paul. I mean, I don't personally have too much experience trading Ichimoku Cloud, so I'm not too sure about that. But yeah. Okay, so let's have a look because try and get through as many of these last few questions as we possibly can before the end of the session. Would you typically see the start of the reversion in the current session at a price point where liquidity volume entered the market from previous session, acting a bit? Yes, you can do, Sean. And again, that comes back to what I just spoke about there. Hopefully, about using the support and resistance from previous sessions and from previous price action to monitor to give you higher probability entry points and areas to be looking to trade from. Hopefully that helps. Um, VWAP oscillator indicator showing the deviation, not the price itself. No, I think the look. So again, you can do. I don't have much experience trading. So Fefe, sorry, I'm not sure how you pronounce that. Would you use the VWAP oscillator indicator? Personally, I don't have any much experience using the VWAP oscillator. What I'm sitting this have from my experience is institutions are looking at VWAP. Okay, institutions are targeting VWAP price. Therefore, keep it simple. These are actual indicators that you have access to that institutions are using as well. They are looking at volume, they are looking at VWAP. Use the same information that institutions are looking at, and that gives you the closest advantage you can have to try and make decisions. Okay, so I think yeah, definitely try and stick with just a basic VWAP. Use the volume. Those are the things that institutions are looking at. So that gives you the information that they're basing their decisions on as well. Um, yeah, the anchored VWAP will act in a similar manner, John. But yeah, like I say, as I said earlier on, we're focusing on the session VWAP at the moment. Increase in volume, price movement. Increase in volume, price movement is away from the VWAP. Decrease in volume, price will move close to VWAP. So I'm not quite sure the full of the question, but when you're looking for mean reversions, you're looking for a decrease in volume and a decrease in participation to be able to look to get back to the VWAP. And when you get back to the VWAP, you're looking for an increase in volume to look for the continuation away from it. So hopefully that answers that question. Can you guys see my trading view at the moment? Can you? I should be sharing a screen where you can see the Dow chart. Is that right? Can you see that? So Dave says, what do I use to execute your trades? I mean, you can execute off TradingView. You can use MT4, MT5, whichever platform you're using through VT Markets. You can use to execute. It's not there's no right or wrong with that. It's whichever one you feel most comfortable with. Okay, good stuff. So Farik says, I think we're probably going to have to, yeah, one or two more questions and then we're probably going to have to wrap the session up. So Frick says, Ross, sorry, can you go back to your trading view and show us how to change the settings because the trading view version has 3 lines instead of 1 like yours. So on here, um, okay, I think I'm not sure if you've gone into trading view for VT markets or whether you're in just a normal trading view. Um, but let me because on the normal VT markets, if you log into your system through VT markets, okay, and you just go into the indicators and type VWAP, it will just show you that VWAP line. Okay, what you're probably seeing is, if you can bear with me a second. Let me get this because I don't generally use other. I just use. Okay. Okay. Let me try this again. Okay, so this, if you, I would always recommend going through your VT Markets client portal and just logging into TradingView there, and then you'll just get exactly what I showed you there. That you get all the information you need. What I'm guessing you're seeing is something like this. Is that right? Yeah. So basically, what you're doing, because you're not using VT Markets thing. You're not just get. So the blue line will be the same. These green lines are your VWAP bands. Okay. To remove those VWAP bands, if you go to the VWAP session settings there, um, uh, settings there, you can just untick the upper band, untick the lower band, untick that bit, and that will give you the VWAP, just the VWAP line. You just need to untick in the settings part um, the style, just untick those bits there, the upper band, lower band, and the bands fill. And I mean, as you can see, these upper bands and lower bands, whilst they give you some information, they're really not the best to go on. Up here, they're just trading above those bands all the time. The institutions, again, I'm going to repeat myself again what I said earlier on. The institutions are looking at the VWAP price and the volume. Those are if that's the information they're looking at, that is the information that you want to be looking at as well. Okay. So to give yourself the best information, that way you're making your trading decisions based on the same information that the institutions are making their trading decisions on, which is what you want to try and aim for. Okay, guys. Any other questions before we wrap this up? Like I say, lots of questions today, so hopefully that's always a good sign. I like a lot of questions in these because it means that there's engagement and it's a lot to learn. So, last question: how can you show how to trade with trend? Can you show how to trade? Yeah. So Farik, with to trade with the trend on VWAP, what you're looking for is you're looking for this. This is a really good example where you're looking for price to move, extend away from the VWAP. So you've got that trend. Okay, you've got a strong bias. Then the price to move back to VWAP, and once you get back to VWAP, then you want to see this price, this volume increase. Okay, and then you look to trade with that trend. Okay, so you look for price to move away from VWAP, move back to VWAP, get your reversal signal, and for volume to increase. Okay, that is how you would trade with trend using VWAP. Cool, good stuff. Right, so we are just about out of time, but as I say, hopefully we got through a lot of questions there. So hopefully you found that extremely useful. As always, so the events team there have put the uh, link for the next webinar. Please sign up for that. It will be on the 16th of March. We're going to talk about scalping for supply and demand. So please do make sure you come and join us again. There'll be a little bit of information, sort of 10-15 minutes worth of information, but then we'll go really jump into the charts and show some live trading as well. So hopefully you found this useful. Please do stay on and answer the survey that we'll have. Again, that will really help us to tailor these events, these webinars to what you want. There's links there also to open a live account with VT Markets, a referral promotion there that we've got going as well, where you can join our Telegram channel, and also that VWAP article that we've got for you as well to give you a little bit more information, and also another link where you can subscribe to future updates on these webinars. Right, everyone. So a little bit different today. I hope you found that extremely useful. I wish you all the best in your trading, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Trading Vault. Okay, cheers, everyone.